Don't buy a property in 2023 before you watch this video. Hi, my name is Roy and welcome to Roy Talks Property. On this channel, we'll talk about property investing, property finance, and the different strategies available for you today to build wealth through property. So if that's of interest to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you can get notified every time we upload a video. Your support is greatly appreciated. So in today's video, I want to talk about why you shouldn't buy one investment property in 2023. And I'm going to split this video into three main sections. The first one is the rental crisis that everyone seems to be talking about. The second point is interest rates. Now that is a juicy topic. And then the third point is where to invest anyway, and where should you invest if you were to invest. So let's kick it off first talking about the rental crisis that we've been hearing about in the news for quite some time now. Why do we have a crisis? Where did it start? What does it look like? Let's look at some data. The screenshot that we're looking at here is comparing the vacancy rates and the annual rent increases over the last few years from 2016 to 2022. As you can see, vacancy rates over the last couple of years have dropped quite significantly. That's the section in red. And then the rental increase have increased also quite significantly. And that has actually led to quite some dodgy practices from real estate agents and other potential, prospect tenants and so forth. So I'm going to cue a video for you now. It's only about 10 seconds from the news talking about the rental crisis in Melbourne.
The number of properties that are available to rent on realestate.com.au has hit levels that we haven't seen since the early 2000s. So there's incredibly tight rental supply.
The rental market's expected to get even tougher for tenants next year, with an influx of foreign students and migrants moving to Melbourne.
So as you can see, prospect tenants are having to bid other tenants in order to secure a home. And what that means for you as an investor is you got your 50% partner, your tenant, is going to be available for years to come because we have that rental crisis. So we've seen that rental bidding is illegal in Victoria. It has now become illegal in New South Wales as well. So that means that our tenants will have less and less opportunity to secure a place that they like. To put things in perspective, at any given day, there are about 55,000 properties available for rent. That was back 10 years ago. Today, at any given day, there's 35,000 properties available for rent. So that's a 40% drop in rental supply from 10 years ago. What's interesting for you to know, though, is that Australia today has 3.2 million more people. So we have less supply and more people, obviously massive rental crisis. It gets more interesting. I'm going to cue this screenshot and show you that the immigration department has increased the migration cap from 160,000 to 195,000 effective immediately. So when these immigrants come in, where are they going to live? There's not already a shortage of supply and the situation is only getting worse. And that will put an upward pressure on rental prices, property prices, and rental supply available for these people to live in. You, as an investor, benefit from that. And then the last point that I want to cue in for you is student migration or student visas into Australia. As you can see from this screenshot, we are receiving on average 10,000 student visa applications a week. Now, say we get 50% of those approved, you're looking at a massive surge in students coming into the country that will require accommodation in places like, the city in Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, etc., where there's already a massive or severe undersupply of apartments available for rent, as we saw in the previous video. The rental crisis isn't going anywhere for quite some time, and you as an investor stand to benefit from that. Question is, when do you get into the market? What to buy? Where to buy? How much you should be spending? Or what type of property you should be targeting? Click on the link below to book a phone call or master strategy with me, and then we can take it from there. So we've just looked at rental crisis, and that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't buy an investment property in 2023. Now we're going to look at the juicy topic, which is interest rates. Now, to keep it simple, there are three types of property owners in the market today. Number one, the owner-occupiers who have owned their property for quite some time, and their loan to value ratio is quite low, and they have plenty of equity in their property, and they are ahead of their mortgage repayments by a year or two. The interest rates really have very little impact on their day-to-day life. The second type of property owners are the first home buyers that have bought real estate in the last couple of years when interest rates were at 1%, 2%, or even not even 1%, less than 1%. The argument is that if you bought a property in 2020, 2021, and the interest rate was, say, 0.5%, and now the interest rates are sitting at 5% or so, well, you can't afford to own your property anymore because the rates have moved. What most people fail to remember is that the lender, the bank that gave you the money to buy the property, assessed your borrowing capacity based on a 6 and 7% interest rate. So most people can afford current interest rates today. And what we see in this report here that was done by one of the directors of SQM, the report's called Boom and Bust, you can pay for it online, it's about $60 or so, is that if rates stabilize around the 4%, which is likely going to happen in scenarios 1 and 2, we are going to see an increase in property prices. Now, marry that up with rental prices, you as an investor stand to benefit from that. And that is the second reason why you shouldn't buy a property in 2023. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move to the third point, which is where to buy a property in 2023. Where should you buy? Let's take a bit of a step back and look at a holistic approach to the market. Property investors for the last few years have been spoiled. It was so easy to invest because interest rates were very low, and that allowed far too many average landlords to purchase properties in Melbourne, in Sydney, that are heavily negatively geared because they could afford it at the time. Interest rates were quite low. As interest rates move, those investors don't have that luxury anymore, and they now look at their portfolio like, how can I balance my portfolio? Because now I have a property that's costing me $100 or $200 a week. What should I do? I don't want to sell the property, but I need to make sure that I can balance the portfolio. I've got some equity because I did get some great capital growth in Sydney and Melbourne in the last couple of years. Where is the attention going? As you can see from realestate.com.au, since the interest rates have started moving and increasing in Australia, South Australia, Queensland, and West Australia have seen an influx or a surge from people who live in New South Wales searching for properties in those markets, and mainly in South Australia, because these are still quite affordable markets with higher rental yields. So if you have a property in Melbourne or in Sydney that gives you a 3% rental yield, but a property in Adelaide can give you a 6-7% rental yield, then you can balance your portfolio. And that's exactly what these investors are trying to do. I'll show you another screenshot from Victoria. As you can see, a lot of them are looking in West Australia, South Australia, and Queensland. So if you as an investor want to benefit or buy a property in 2023, you want to look at the attention. Where are people shifting their focus and attention to? And then position yourself in those markets. And that is why I said you shouldn't buy a property in 2023. If anything, you should try and buy 2 properties in 2023, because looking at the rental prices, the fact that interest rates could stabilize, and the fact that there are markets for you to make money in, there is no reason stopping you from continuing or to start building your property portfolio. Thank you so much for watching. If you love this video, please make sure you subscribe and you like that video. And if you want to learn more or get in touch with me, click on one of the links below to get in touch via phone call or to book a meeting with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.